Hi, and welcome to the SteamLUG Cast, Season 2, Episode 4. My name is Cheese, and with me I have Sword.
Hey guys.
John.
Hey everyone.
And special guest from Muse Games, Matthew.
Hello.
And Howard.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Thanks very much for joining us.
Now, what is Muse Games and what have you made?
We are a indie game dev shop in New York City. Basically, we're exactly where we are. If I walk out of my building, if I look to the left, I can see the behinds of the Wall Street Bull. That's exactly where we are. And we make right now we're working on this game called Guns of Icarus Online. We're obviously updating and improving upon the game itself, as well as working on a expansion that will add co-op and PvE to the existing PvP game.
This is pretty exciting.
How does co-op factor into it? Because it's quite a multiplayer game at the moment. Is that a local co-op sort of single player mode, or?
No, it'll be online co-op. So it will be the game. How the game plays now is that you have 4 players crewing a ship together, or at least up to 4 players crewing a ship together. You have someone flying the ship, you have someone gunning, you have someone repairing the ship as it takes damage. That component will actually translate to co-op as well. So you can still have you and your friends crewing a ship together, and you guys can form teams of up to 4 ships still. But instead of battling against other player crews, you'll be battling against AIs of all sorts, anything from planes to enemy airships to bosses.
Oh, I see. Does that take on the form of a sort of a story progression, or?
Story progression is something that we want to develop more for another expansion that we plan called Adventure Mode, and that is going to be more the world building, social, economic, political factions, trades. And I guess in that persistent world, we want to be able to basically drizzle more of the lore and the story, so you can uncover, through progressing through the game, you'd be able to uncover more of the backstory of the world, or how the world came to be. But in co-op, I think we'll only reflect that in representation. So, we're planning to have players to form factions or join in one of 6 factions, and we want to have their success is, or what progress they made, to reflect in the faction dynamics, in sort of how the world will or evolve, I guess. So the fact if you do well, if your faction does well, you can potentially gain more territory, and that will be reflected in a map of the world, for example. So we want to incorporate some elements of that, but it won't be as fleshed out as what we're planning eventually.
So you guys have been working with Unity for some time. This is the engine that you're using for Guns of Icarus Online. How do you feel that it's changed over time?
Oh, I would say it's gotten a lot better and a lot more robust. And the community has obviously grown. A lot of the, I guess, bugs or issues that we had earlier with Unity, we either found workaround for, or they have been pretty diligent in fixing them. I mean, we started using Unity in what, like 1.5, and back then Unity was super small, and they were just getting started. So I mean, we kind of went through the history of Unity almost, and so yeah, we've been using Unity for a long time, and it's from like 1.5 to now. It's been pretty phenomenal.
Did you start on 1.5 because you have a Mac heritage at all, or?
Actually, you know what? So when we were using Unity, we weren't Muse yet. We weren't making games yet. We were working on just generally virtual world stuff. But we wanted to actually integrate a lot of web content and present that information, visually in 3D. So that's kind of how we got started using Unity. So we weren't, always using Unity to make games. So we made our first game in Unity in 2.5, I believe. That was the original Guns of Icarus. What we call Guns of Icarus Classic now. But I mean, that was the single player. It's sort of like what we're doing with co-op now, but it was more of a single player on rail experience, where you can shoot down planes and whatever. And so that was in 2.5, I believe. And that's sort of when we started to use Unity to make games.
And so what platforms are you deploying to at the moment?
Right now, it's for Guns of Icarus Online is just Steam, and wherever that takes Steam keys. And so it's Steam, and we support PC, Mac, and Linux. And with the original, the first Guns, we actually have a web version, PC, Mac, and the game that we made earlier called Creevers, that was PC, Mac. It was supported to iOS. So we've done like cross-platform wise, we've done a little bit of everything, I would say, by now. Everything except for console, which we will get to soon.
I guess you can't speak about any of that yet.
I think sorry about that, guys. The one thing for sure was is that we will be on PS4 at some point. So we already committed to PS4. My phone's ringing in the background. Sorry about that.
So how have you found Unity export on Linux? I mean, is it out of the way from normal, or is it smooth?
Just making a Linux build is pretty smooth. But I think in doing so, we obviously uncovered a lot of problems, at least some bugs with Linux that we obviously haven't accounted for because we, weren't testing on Linux as much as we were doing on PC and Mac. So I think it's just really sort of uncovering what the issues were and try really hard to solve it. I think the first 2 weeks after deployment, it was rougher because we found some bugs and whatnot that we had to fix. And then it's been a lot smoother. But as far as using Unity to deploy a Linux build, it was pretty straightforward. And
what sort of testing for Linux are you doing at the moment?
We just have a Linux machine just sitting here in RIM, which if people have report bugs, we try to reproduce it. That's pretty much it. And the good thing, actually, another thing, forgot to mention that. So another thing that's great about being to have a Linux build now is that we are SteamOS compatible as well. So if you have SteamOS, right? If you have a Steam box, you can play Guns on SteamOS right now with a Steam controller. Actually, there's already a default binding that we set. What do they call it? Legacy binding. So you can play Guns on Steam machines already.
Yeah. Just before Christmas, Unity put up a public bug tracker. Have you used that much at all? Has that helped in smoothing over some issues you have running Guns?
I haven't. I'm not the engineer, so I had to check with Alex.
Okay.
But we've been pretty diligent about filing bugs to Unity, give them really good repro cases and whatnot. And I think with Unity, they're usually really good at responding to bug reports. I mean, they don't necessarily fix stuff right away, but sometimes things take a while. But at least they're pretty good about responding to reports and whatnot. At least based on our experience anyway. And I think over time we got to know some of the people at Unity pretty well. So at least we can try to reach out, and they've been really good about it.
So you feel like things are moving forward on that front. That's pretty cool. So Guns of Icarus Online was crowdfunded. Was that your first experience with crowdfunding?
No. We tried Kickstarter with Creevers. I think it was for 10 days right before we launched Creevers on Steam. I believe. And that was really, really, really early days of Kickstarter. And I had gotten to know Kickstarter through a friend who, just who completed a campaign, but it wasn't in games. It was in like fitness, I think. Did like some fitness class, and he basically got me like to check out Kickstarter, and we just tried it, ran it for 10 days. It was great for Creepers. It was pretty awesome. And so with Guns, we tried it again. But as far as like funding the development, I mean, by the time we started a Kickstarter campaign, we were pretty far along in prototyping Guns, and I would say like the because at Kickstarter at the time, it was before Double Fine, it was before like Elevation Dock, before all the big games hit. So their money that you can realistically raise on Kickstarter, it was a lot smaller. So like look at our case, we raised 35,000 and 200 or something, and so we had a funding target of 10K, so we were 352% funded, right? It was great. And at the time, it was the 7th or the 8th highest funded game. So that kind of puts you, like, that kind of puts some perspective on it, right? I mean, when we completed the campaign, the second Kickstarter campaign for Adventure Mode, we were, if we throw in PayPal, we were at like 215,000, and like just right around 200,000 on Kickstarter alone. And that was good for like 53rd highest funded game. So in 2 years, like Kickstarter's really, really taken off and really, really exploded, which is great. So yeah, that's sort of our history with Kickstarter. So Guns wasn't the first project, and at the time it wasn't really viable to use Kickstarter for a significant portion of development. So essentially, the game was self-funded, like the largest part.
And then you went back to Kickstarter for Adventure Mode.
Yeah, that's correct.
And what kind of response did you get to that compared to your original experience? Because obviously that was after Double Fine came and all the others.
Yeah, I thought it was great. It was a great experience. It's a lot of work. Actually, in fact, who am I kidding? We're still sending out stuff to people like right now. So we still got piles of stuff sitting in our room and waiting for us to pack them and ship them. So who am I kidding, right? I mean, it's been. I thought the experience has been great. The response has been awesome, and I would say we had really phenomenal support from our community, the players in the game. They really, really backed us, and the majority of funding came from existing players, which is amazing. I think I would say if we were to do this whole thing all over again, the one regret I had is just with the messaging of the original campaign. The first time around for Guns of Icarus Online, I think we were just like, we didn't really know what we were doing, to be honest. I mean, with Kickstarter or just prototyping, right? I mean, or how much we can achieve realistically with scope. So I think in the campaign, if you go back and read the original text, I mean, essentially it promised adventure mode, which is no way we can like really deliver. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, we want to put our dreams down and hope that would resonate with people, but in the same token, we also overcommitted by a lot. And with that, we definitely had some original backers letting us know, or letting us know how not terribly happy they were. But I think it's just I think it's just with a lot of things that we do, it's just about like owning up to to stupidity with the mistakes that we make, and try to do our best to make people make the players happy. So but overall though, I would say it's been really awesome.
It was something that I unfortunately missed out on, but watching the development updates and stuff as you guys talk about where you're at and how things have been going, I kind of really wish I had been kind of on the ground floor when that launched.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now we're still just taking pre-order, and that trickles in on our site. and pretty soon we'll want to talk to Steam about doing pre-orders on Steam, and hopefully use Steam to get people into beta, which is like the best way. So we don't have to manage like a bunch of keys and a bunch of emails. So I think eventually that will be
Nice.
back in some form. But I guess we just won't be able to, in honor of our Kickstarter backers, we just won't be able to offer the same tiers that we did with Kickstarter.
So you're planning to launch Adventure Mode next year, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that is sort of tentatively maybe the plan. I mean, I think we want to focus on co-op first, and to make sure that we deliver, a good co-op PvE experience first, because there are a few reasons. One is just, again, with scope. Second is that obviously it helps, whatever proceeds that we raise for co-op, it will be able to fund the development further. And I think most importantly, though, with the campaign, that's actually really most specifically, that's what people have backed us up to or backed us for. And we feel like it's really important to, have at least have co-op done so that, Kickstarter backers will have, something in hand that they backed us for, so they can, feel like, okay, we delivered stuff that, they asked for.
That's cool. So is there any chance of your older titles, Crevious or Guns of Icarus Classic, coming to Linux? Any chances of getting those upgraded to more recent versions of Unity?
Yeah, it's definitely on the to-dos, which is super long, especially with the first Guns of Icarus. So with the first Guns of Icarus, because there's still a lot of crossover. People still find the game because of Guns of Icarus Online, and so for example, if you get the original Guns, you also get you also unlock a exclusive item, right? So there's actually a lot of tie-in. And I think for the original Guns, it's definitely more of a priority to at least update it to a newer version of Unity so it can support Linux. But we just haven't had the time, but we want to, though.
Awesome. And what kind of response do you feel that you've gotten from Linux audiences in regards to Guns of Icarus Online?
Oh, phenomenal. I think that because when we launched Guns on Steam, so the Linux store was like really new, right? And when we released the Linux version, I think there were only 60 or 70 games on Steam that support Linux, so people are really happy. And I think our Linux players they're really, really small, but there are only a few, but they're really vocal and pretty hardcore about it, which is awesome. And I think that's really sort of the nature of Steam's ecosystem, in that the number of Linux players to PC, for example, are like really, really small.
Yeah, I mean you've got 65 million accounts, is it now, on Steam? I think.
By Steam's latest, it's 75 million. They crossed 75 million.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
So it's fair enough that that the Linux user base is going to be small, particularly when there's only a small fraction of that. Was it nearly 2,000 games that they've got now on Steam that support Linux?
Wow, it's that many games now. That's pretty impressive.
Oh no, sorry. There's a small fraction of that 2,000 that supports Linux.
I see.
No, we're as of today, we're at 337.
I mean, that's actually pretty impressive, right? I mean, considering that when do we release the Linux version? Was it in October or?
Well, last Friday was the 1-year anniversary of Steam for Linux being publicly available.
Oh, was it?
So
I guess our Linux version is out earlier than that. But within a year, within a year, I mean, essentially the number of Linux title, I would say, a quadruple. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's not bad at all. Just under one a day, which, phenomenal. And looking at Greenlight status, we've got another, 10, 15 added this week, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I let's see, our Linux player base is about, to PC, for example, it's about 101. It's less than 101, actually. But we love you, Linux players.
Yay! Well, I kind of like the game. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, we've had a couple of events for SteamLUG so far. It's been fairly busy.
Yeah, we can usually field at least 2 ships in a game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in any given time of the day, there would be, Matt, what would you say? Like, 100, 200, 400. And, we had, so like during the Steam sale, we were we had, a couple of flash sales, and, there's a PewDiePie video. And so the momentum that we got from the holiday sale has been pretty great. And we were just a daily deal, and we were on the Humble Store and Be Mine bundle, the groupie Be Mine bundle. So I think we've just been doing a little bit more in the last couple months to to promote the game, and so I think that's sort of been it's been pretty good, because I mean with games, with any game, there's so many games on Steam, right? People are gonna people are going to check out the game. So there's always going to be attrition. And in part, it's, for us to work on, improving retention, doing better to keep people playing for longer. But, it's also just doing more to bring new players in. So we're trying to do more.
Yeah, sure. So going back to a topic we have already covered, in the notes we've got the original Guns of Icarus had planes.
In fact, planes have already been, they're already working. The AI flat pattern, everything's working. Right now, actually in co-op, we have, some prototype planes, we have some prototype ships, working on a boss, and it's really just a matter of putting everything together in a level and then start iterating on it, to make sure that, everything looks and feels great.
And will they be playable or will they just be NPCs or controlled?
The enemy planes are, AI controlled. They're pretty much all AI controlled. So, the player ships are obviously manned by players. You'd just be battling against different types of AI enemies. Oh, wait, did you ask about when? Basically, we're going to try to have a version. Okay, we better have a playable version at PAX East. I mean, otherwise, we'll just be there like, yeah, well, we're supposed to have something new to show you, but we don't. So we better have something ready.
Sweet.
So what's that, 7 weeks away? not to stress you out anymore.
Yeah, are you guys going to PAX, by the way?
No, it's a bit too far. I'm in Britain at the moment, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to come to PAX Australia, you should.
Oh, well, you know what? There is a possibility. So I was talking to the PAX Australia people about, just being in their LAN tournament, like PAX LAN, at Australia.
Yeah, sweet.
But nothing's been decided yet, so we'll see. But we actually, we were at Eurogamer Expo. I don't know if you guys go to that.
I am planning to, yeah.
Yeah, that is actually pretty cool. It's really well run. Because we were in their indie section, right? And they basically the cost is actually surprisingly cheap. Probably because the first time they were like, "Oh, hey, do you guys want to be in Eurogamer Expo?" I was like, "Oh, well, how much does it cost?" Saw the price. I'm like, "Dude, I can't afford this." And then they're like, "Okay, fine, we'll give you a discount." I look at the discount, like, I still can't afford it. And then they give us another discount, and we're like, "Okay, maybe we can afford it." And we went, and it was phenomenal because they set up everything for you. You give them the image files, and they do the banner and everything for you. It looks awesome. And so it was. I forgot where it was, like Earl's Court or something.
Yeah,
but it was like right, yeah. And facility was awesome. I mean, it was just good to be London, right? Even though I didn't really see any
Yeah.
part of London, I walked from my crappy hotel to Earl's Court and back every day, and that's all I did. But it was great. I would love to be there again if we can afford it, or if we have a spot. But at least we'll look into it. So long answer short, yeah, we would love to be in the UK again. We'll be in London again.
We have quite a lot of our audience in Central Europe. Are you planning on going to Gamescom at all?
We Gamescom is, well, maybe if if we can afford it. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as long as we can afford it, we'll consider anywhere. But a lot of places, sometimes there are places in the world we kind of can't afford it. But Gamescom, but we were sort of at Gamescom. We were at Gamescom. We were represented at Gamescom. When Sony did the announcement, their press announcement thing, yeah, they actually showed guns, which is like, I think my heart skipped a beat when I saw it. So
Yeah, not bad.
Nice.
So you're aiming to get a sort of a playable build for PAX. When do you actually think it will be released? I mean, published on Steam.
That's a good question. I mean, we'll release it when we feel like it's ready, but tentatively toward the end of the year.
Okay.
So Matt, you want to tell us what it's like to work remotely at Muse Games?
Sure thing. I mean, we've gotten really good at it. Howard has a great system. There's basically an email chain going of everything that's that all the remote workers are doing, and then there's constant Google Docs up for I built a spec for community, and I put it into a Google Doc. I send it off to the team, and then everyone can add comments and review it constantly. So it's just a live document that grows and becomes better through other people adding in comments and, hey, you didn't think of this, or this will never ever work, take this out, kind of thing. Do you have any other specific questions about it, or?
I'm kind of curious to know how you, as it feels very much like the game is geared towards not rewarding individual play. I'm kind of interested to know how you ended up, honing in on and finding gameplay that was specifically rewarding teamwork rather than, having heroes doing their stuff.
That's a great question. I think we wanted, when we imagined the game at the very beginning, right? I mean, actually, okay, when we first started, take a step back. When we first started concepting the game, it was more thinking about different mechanics. So thinking about turret shooting, how it's such a small part of, basically other forms of gameplay, whether it's FPS or whatever. I mean, so you're in a Medal of Honor campaign, you get on a 50 cal and for 10 seconds, shoot really scripted, just mold down a roll of AI, you're done, right? And, it started with thinking how we can take that and make it a focal point of the game. And to sort of when you shoot stuff, what happens when you take damage, what happens, can we create an intense experience of people running around repairing stuff? And so we were looking at time management games like Diner Dash even, right? I guess we started off looking at mechanics, but then along the way we realized that, if these mechanics could be done by different people working together, it will be amazing. And looking at just how teamwork is done, especially at the time we're working on the original Guns. It was, I think it was just something that we found to be a challenge, or it was just something that we found immensely fascinating to do, to see how we can push the teamwork envelope, how we can create a game that's truly about teamwork. And part of it, the reason why we came up with Airship, is not only because we like steampunk, right? But it was also because we were intrigued by how teamwork can work, and how teamwork works in relation to space. So there was a reason that you're in a confined space on an airship, and I feel like that actually augments teamwork. And there's a reason why you have different classes to play, different roles to play. but also can the different roles. Not only they're specialized, but there's also a little bit of crossover. So in that sense, it's kind of like real life doing team projects, for better or worse.
Yeah, I love that you can, the pilot, if for any reason the pilot needs to leave this post, anybody can take the wheel, anybody can pick up a gun, anybody can do anything, but the specialists have buffs for each of those abilities.
Right. I mean, they also have more skill slots per their class.
Right. I kind of like it. It's got this kind of tactical submarine feel, but you've got the kind of visibility that you get from being up in the air. It's a really good mix.
Yeah, I think for just the maneuverability of the ships, it's definitely I would say it's a cross between naval combat or naval maneuverability, but also like aerial. For people like we actually had this, Navy, this person who like served in the Navy, and he thought that while the controls are a little bit more simplified, but like some of the ships drive and feel like ships, but then with skills and with the faster ships you can also do a lot of tactical aerial maneuvering. So yeah, it's really an effort to try to make airship feel like airship, at least how we were imagining it to be.
It's pretty convincing. The only feedback I would give on that front is that it would be nice if when banking that the ship felt like it swung a little bit more, but it's still pretty awesome.
You know what? Yeah, that people have brought up to us before. I think we'll need to experiment with that a little bit more, and to not make people like feel like they want to throw up. Like,
yeah, that's the danger.
I mean, George, who does a lot of the the camera and effects. He does a lot of work with just experimenting with different camera angles and like camera shakes and stuff like that. There was a patch where we introduced more camera shake. When guns of fire, when you're being rammed and whatnot, and people, I just say, the food in the people's stomach didn't really sit that well. So yeah, it's just something that we'll probably have to experiment.
Yeah, it feels like something that would take a lot of balancing to get right.
So we've had a question in the text chat from Nemoda. He asks, what did you think of the Steam Dev Talks and the free Steambox? I guess you went to Steam Dev Days, did you?
Yeah, I did. Just Steambox in general.
I think everyone's interested, obviously, in SteamOS, but if you've got any thoughts on the controller or the VR talks or anything, you're welcome to share them.
Yeah, I play with the controller a little bit, especially with so they use Borderlands 2 demo, and so it's an FPS, right? And playing. I think people will be pleasantly surprised at how responsive and how good the Steam controller feel. And the version of Steam controller that we have right now, and that I was using in while I was at Steam checking it out for the first time, that's actually a prototype. So it's not the most ergonomic, and they're actually working on that. I think they're really open about feedback, which is pretty amazing. We submitted a feedback or bug using their support ticket system, so I think they're really responsive. I think with the controller specifically, people will be pleasantly surprised. And I mean, for Steam, it makes total sense, right? Because they have a library of PC games. They need a input scheme, or basically an input device that will accommodate all kinds of different stuff, and try to make it feel good. So you need to be able to use it to play platformers, to play a more complex game such as like ours, right, with multiple input schemes or control schemes. So I feel like they've done a good job because of how programmable the controller is. So I can program stuff for buttons, program stuff with for platform. I can do. There's just a lot you can do with it. You can pretty much, you should be able to program just about any input scheme, which is pretty brilliant. I think it's in a way revolutionary. So I am like really, I guess, bullish on the Steam controller. Maybe because I'm a dev, but I really think that we've been trying with it, even with the prototype controller. Playing Guns feels pretty good, and the that touch pad, whatever had it has tactile feedback, so it feels like a button. So I think they're doing a lot of things right. And with Steambox, I mean, there's so many different like versions. I think it will be harder for us to test against like every single like configuration, right? And because the Steambox is also configurable, so like people can like take the box apart and put in like their own like to add memory or whatever, right? So I think that just because of how many versions there are, they're treating it like a PC, and some people might be like, "Whoa," be overwhelmed by that. But so for example, we at Steam Dev Days we got the Gigabyte
The bricks,
box, the brick, yes, and it's pretty good.
Oh yeah, for such a small
Like,
thing, yeah.
Yeah, for such a small, I mean, it's really good. I mean, they have an i7 in there, and what they're running Iris, and and with like 16 gigs of RAM, it's pretty good. The specs is really good, yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
ridiculous.
we can run Guns on like pretty high setting, not the highest setting, right? But like pretty high settings, and it runs 30 frames. It runs 30 FPS, and it feels pretty good.
Cool. And we've had someone ask in chat. You mentioned that you feel that the Steam controller is revolutionary. Do you guys have any opinions on head-mounted displays or virtual reality? Are you considering Rift support for Guns?
Yes, we have a dev kit sitting on our desk for a while now. We just need to get to it and actually spend a little bit of time to make sure people don't throw up. But yeah, I mean, we definitely want to get there. And if that's in relation to Steam's like really big, pretty big on a lot of like Steam Dev Days is like them touting, not necessarily touting Rift, but touting VR in general. So I think they might even want to do something about it. So
awesome. Well, I have a dev kit. I'm happy to help test if you need testing
Nice.
feedback on Linux. And I'm always seeking for something that will make me throw up. I've never had any kind of sickness with a HMD before, and I want to find it.
Yeah, it will be cool though if we can get Rift to work and work reasonably well. It would be pretty cool. Pretty excited about it.
Right, I think that's all of our questions. Do we want to wrap up?
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks very much for joining us, guys. It's been a pleasure. Is there anything that you guys want to add?
No, not really. As long as we answer your questions satisfactorily, like I'm happy.
Absolutely.
That was great.
Yep, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, not a problem. Fun.
Definitely a pleasure.
Best of luck with adventure mode.
Yeah, thanks. It's daunting, but yeah, it's very exciting. So yeah, we're having fun with it.
We look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
See ya.
What have you guys been playing lately? Cheese?
That's a good question. I picked up Little Racer Street the other day, which is this kind of mostly top-down little kind of, makes me think of like Micro Machines, if you ever played that.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. We're talking about maybe scheduling an event next month for it, which could be neat. I've been playing some Guns of Icarus, of course. Been playing a bit of Spelunky, trying to do the daily challenge regularly in Wine. Getting better at it. It's kind of cool. I played through that what's that free game that came out a little while ago? It's like really, really small. It's called The Plan, and you play as a fly. That was a really interesting quick experiment going on. Played some Horde, some Starbound, Surgeon Simulator. Had a quick go of Octodad, which is sweet. And depressingly have been playing Papers, Please. What about you, Sword?
Why is that depressing?
Oh, why is it depressing? Oh, it's I don't know, subject matter. Everybody's upset and repressed.
How come?
It's set in a kind of fictional.
It's
I don't know. How would you describe it, John? Yeah.
A communist regime where they take bribes rather than following the rule of law all the time.
Oh, okay. So the game itself is sad. Not
Yes.
play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, playing it's also sad. because you've got to balance the income you get from your job with looking after your family, and you can only get a lot of income from your job if you cut corners, and basically you have to become deliberately shoddy at your job to earn enough to pay for your family. And it's depressing because you have to reject people at the border without properly checking their papers, or else
All right.
So you play as like a customs officer at a border crossing type station, and it looks like it's kind of some kind of post-war state where people are only just being allowed in after conflict has settled down, and things are still very tense. And so as you play along, there are all sorts of bombings and attacks and things that change the amount of work that you have to do in processing people to let them come through. So you get that kind of increased tension as time goes on. It's neat, and like you can unlock these bonuses, which are keyboard shortcuts for stuff that you normally use the mouse for. So it's kind of neat to see that kind of usability unlocked as a bonus.
Oh, sweet. I've been playing some Rogue Legacy, which I've been playing a lot lately.
Have you managed to finish that yet?
Well, yesterday I completed the first playthrough.
So what, New Game Plus now?
Yeah. And I like the background better now, so that's nice.
I haven't actually finished the game, so how does the background change?
I think to begin with it's reddish, and now it's green-yellow.
And will it get even more fruity as you go on into the next New Game Plus, or what?
I don't know, actually. Maybe.
Oh, neat.
Only one way to find out, though.
Yep, keep going.
Yeah. And then I've been playing some CSGO, streaming from my Windows laptop. And I talked about playing FPS games before from my Steambox, from my workstation, which was a great experience because it didn't have any lag or anything.
Mm.
But from Windows to Linux is
problematic. Is the laptop tethered, or is it Wi-Fi, or?
Oh, that on a 1 gigabit network, and I utilized about 600 megabit of my network connection.
So do you feel like that's an issue going from Windows to Linux, or do you feel like you're maxing out your laptop, or?
It's not my laptop. I think it might be from Windows to Linux, because I played some other games and I had the same problem.
I've tried Windows to Linux streaming, and I found it was unplayable, but I just attributed that to the Windows machine being too underpowered and it just not having enough CPU, because at the moment streaming isn't hardware accelerated.
Well, the laptop has an i7 CPU and
yeah, you would have thought that'd be able to do it, wouldn't it?
Lots of RAM. Yeah, exactly. But the game plays fine on the laptop. You can play it fine there, but when it goes to streaming, it's just horrible and has a lot of latency.
But you've had no problems receiving streaming from other machines?
No, not from a Linux machine.
That's really odd.
Yeah. So if I play on my very low power Steambox, the games plays fine from my Linux machine. But if I play from the Windows machine, it's horrible. And I even tried playing from my Windows machine to my workstation, which are both pretty powerful, and it was the same deal with a lot of lag.
That's a bit sad.
Yeah, it's not fun to play with a lot of latency when the cursor just follows.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad if you're not playing something like an FPS. And I was trying stacking, and was getting about 2 seconds a frame. It was a bit ridiculous. But then the computer hosting it could barely do sort of 30 frames a second or something for that game. So yeah, it's not the best machine.
One thing I find annoying though is that on the Windows machine, CSGO crashed because I tried to change the resolution from the stream, which meant that both my Windows and my Linux machine locked up.
That sucks.
Yeah, obviously I could correct it from the Linux machine, but I had to reboot the Windows machine.
I've had the same problem. While doing that, I had an input lock issue where I was trying to use a controller on my end, and it was just sending like the right signal on the D-pad constantly to the Windows machine. So on the Windows machine, it kept emitting this noise, bing, 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 and it was just stuck. And I had to obviously reset the machine. Each time I went to go open up Task Manager, it would toggle back to the game, and yeah, a bit messy.
Yeah, I had the same problem where the window would steal the focus all the time. So that was obviously not a great experience, but hopefully it's going to improve. I saw the update notes recently had some mentions of crashing would not on the one machine would not crash the other. So
yeah, they also posted that updates are going to slow for in-home streaming while they work on the hardware acceleration for it.
So, what have you been playing, John?
Surprisingly, quite a bit. TF2 and Dota is my sort of fill-in games when I'm just sort of, what can I do for half an hour to 2 hours? I downloaded and played through Estranged Act 1. That's a Half-Life 2 mod. I don't want to spoil the story at all, but it's a nice little hour and 20 minutes. It's obviously Act 1. There are apparently 2 more coming, so yeah, it's also free, so you can get that from the store. The latest Humble Bundle came with a bunch of games, and these games I've been testing, so I've been playing a lot of Guacamelee and Antichamber recently, before it was launched. Pixel Junk Shooter, love that game, I've been playing, along with Tokitori and Painkiller Hell and Damnation. Portal 2 and Counter-Strike Bomb Game with Xpor. You're carrying around a hot potato and you've got to throw it at the other players, and then they've got to obviously throw it off to other people. That's interesting. It's an odd mod, I have to say that.
That sounds like fun.
Oh, it's a mod?
Yeah, a very janky mod, but yeah, it's a mod for Counter-Strike.
Source or the original 1.6?
The original.
Sounds a little bit like the TF2 mod that or map type that lets you everybody plays as Pyro and you air blast a rocket back and forth between the teams.
Oh, it sounds quite similar, yeah. Because all the players I was playing with are quite skilled in their sort of diagonal jumping, and the rest I lost quite badly. I did win one round, but yeah. And that's about it for me.
Sweet. So moving over to community stuff. Just after the last cast, we had a Dota 2 event. We've had a Left 4 Dead 2 event. We've had Counter-Strike Source and Horde.
Yep, the Counter-Strike Source game was pretty busy. Quite a few lengthy games that carried on for a few hours. And the Horde event was really quite busy as well.
Yeah, that was fun.
And I enjoyed stealing everyone's princesses in the Princess Rush game. That's the only way.
Yeah, we should play some more of that.
Yeah, we will. As for the upcoming events, we have No More Room in Hell on Friday, and we've got more to organise. Do contact us if you want to have any games that we haven't obviously played before.
Yep.
Alright.
And immediately following this cast, we're also going to play some Guns of Icarus Online. Yay!
Other community stuff. Go ahead, Cheese.
Earlier this month, I passed across... I did like a bit of a handover of administrative stuff for the local LUG that I run to a new statewide organisation that we've set up to help support the like sort of individual local meetings and stuff that happen around the state. And as part of that, I wrote an article about my history and some of my goals for running a LUG in a low population area. And also a little bit about some of my experiences with SteamLUG and some of the other communities that I've been involved with. If you're interested in that sort of stuff, it's a fun read. If you're not interested in that, it's probably 10,000 words of stuff you don't care about. We've been helping Nemoda set up a Starbound server for SteamLUG, which is, I think it's nearly ready to go. I don't think we've got it on the server list and stuff yet.
I don't think our server thingy on the website works with Starbound.
Is there any way to link it to Steam groups at all?
We were talking about no, I don't think we can link it to the group, but we were talking about getting maybe a status, like server status feed, excuse me, and play account that we can pull across.
Have they added any more quests for Starbound?
No, it's still fairly lacking.
Okay, I'm just gonna wait a while before I play again then. Otherwise I'm just gonna exhaust the game.
And another thing that I've been up to recently is working on a game with some of the other Double Fine community. One of the failed Amnesia Fortnite pitches, people were really excited about it, and we're trying to build it into something that's playable, and we're targeting Linux with that as well, which is sweet.
So what is it exactly?
The pitch is for a game called Bad Golf, which the idea is that it's kind of like normal golf, except instead of being turn-based, it's real-time, and everyone has a golf cart, and you can run over other people's balls, and it's like this kind of tear up the fairway race to get to the end of the hole as quickly as you can, with some bonus points for finishing before other people. So it's this kind of golf cart mayhem thing.
So it's multiplayer, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, you have to be an arsehole to everyone that's playing, or you can choose to be.
Or just be really fast.
Fair enough.
It's kind of not quite playable as a game yet. We're sort of still bringing in a lot of content and features. We've kind of been prototyping a lot of the features separately from each other, so we're doing a little bit of integration at the moment. But we're hoping to have a new test build go out within the next couple of days.
Nice.
And the source for that's up on GitHub if anyone's excited about getting involved or checking it out.
I did see, have you got all the sound effects for that yet? I noticed you had an issue open for getting sounds and the rest.
We've got a fair bit to go on with at the moment, but kind of the approach we're taking is this kind of open contribution model where anybody can add anything, and we're just going to have options so that you can select between all the content that we get. We'll pick some nice stuff for the defaults, but the idea is that we want to encourage everyone to feel like they can put something in, so I think for the moment we've hit most of our most of the things that we need for sounds, but everything stuff's welcome. If people are excited, go nuts.
So we briefly mentioned it in the interview. Steam for Linux has now been out for a year and 7 days.
Yeah.
In that time we've gained 270 games, which is amazing, really, if you think about it. And hopefully, in the next year, we're going to have hundreds and hundreds more. Any thoughts, guys?
It's really positive. I haven't done it, but I would really be interested to see what percentage of titles that have appeared in the past 12 months have been titles which already had Linux clients available outside of Steam. Because there are still a few left that aren't available on Steam yet.
A few dozen, yeah. Some older Humble Bundle ports that just haven't been refreshed, or they're sort of waiting for the waters to get a bit warmer.
And stuff from, ID and what have you.
Yes, I can't see it doing much in the next year or two, though, with Bethesda owning
No.
bastards.
Well, we're just kind of, I don't know if cautiously optimistic is probably a little bit excessive. It probably is. So what's been happening on GitHub?
It's been fairly quiet, just the odd bug, the odd rude person, the odd Russian. But there is a new repo for the Steamworks VR API, which Joe published. And it's got quite a lot of stuff in. It's got some of the build system that Valve uses. I mean, they definitely sort of didn't clean it out too well when they pushed it.
Cool.
But it's basically what the... Sorry if I can speak. It's the API side of the OpenVR that they were talking about at Steam Dev Days. You write your application to sort of hook into their API, and it should then work with any VR solution that Valve are working with to...
Yeah, it's nice to see that there's Linux sides of the API there as well.
Yeah, all three platforms.
Yeah, do you think the GitHub activity is down because of the Atlassian, I think they're calling it? The private
Jira.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what to say. It's been quiet, and normally when it's quiet, they're working on something to be released. But then it could just be they're working more on SteamOS, or Steam Dev Days has just happened. Jira, they get reports from the 300 testers on there. It's not overly busy, but I don't know how much I can say of being able to view that, so I shan't.
Okay, because it feels like since they released or gave away the Steam boxes, that activity has gone down quite a bit, and a lot of the tickets have been, haven't been updated for a while, or any progress from Valve.
probably agree with that. Yeah. It may just be that they're spending all their resources working on feedback they've got from devs on the Gigabyte box. I don't know.
Were there meant to be Steam boxes launching publicly this month?
I think one of the manufacturers said they were going to do it fairly soon, but since none of them had properly confirmed dates, I think what they probably would have done is pushed it back. Just because with the Valve controller announcement saying that the controller's still needing revisions, it may be that the companies that want to ship their hardware with the controller are going to have to wait for the controller now. So yeah.
But maybe if stuff is feeling like it's close, maybe people are trying to fixate and focus on getting SteamOS stuff ironed out. If that could be responsible for slowing things down, I don't know.
Maybe. But talking of Steam Dev Days, all the videos are now available for you to watch on the web. SteamDevDays.com. They've also opened a YouTube account. We don't have a link here, but we'll put that in the notes. Have you watched any of the videos?
I haven't watched any. I'm not really into that stuff.
I have a bunch open that I haven't gotten around to watching yet.
Tabs.
But I did read slides for a bunch of the talks, and I am definitely looking forward to seeing them. How about yourself? Have you caught any?
Unashamedly, I've watched every single one but one video.
Sweet. Which one haven't you watched?
It was the marketing one, the one with Alexander Bruce and Klifsky and the rest.
Yeah. Okay.
It sort of started off slow, and I got a bit disinterested and closed it. But yeah, the VR talks are really informative. Palmer Lucky, yep, so energetic. Quite a few of the debugging talks in developing on Linux. I mean, for someone who's been on Linux for a while, they're not going to be so informative. But as soon as they got into the meat, there was a couple of new tidbits there that I appreciated. And yeah, for a developer, I would have thought they could have possibly had a bit more content there. But yeah, they're really good talks. If you haven't watched them, do. You'll find out what Valve's sort of planning on taking us to, especially in 2 years' time, and they hope this consumer hardware VR's here, and their Steam boxes as well. It's a good future.
Yeah, it's exciting. So Steam has recently launched the new Steam Tag feature. Have you guys had playing around with that?
Yeah, I was trying to tag stuff with Unicode, and it wasn't working too well.
Obviously.
You were trying to tag games that had Unicode support?
No, it was Valentine's Day, so I thought I'd tag all the games that had love stories in with a little heart.
Nice.
And that just didn't... Well, if I look at my tags, I can see they've got hearts. If I click on it to view all games with these tags, it randomly picks selections of games that I've tagged, so I think their support for Unicode's a bit flaky.
Nice.
I've only tagged 2 games with wine.
Yes, I also tagged a few with bad.
Yeah, that's the same.
Yeah. Bad Rats was one of them.
Oh, really?
I've played it. Come on, it's a bad game. I mean, it's not to the level of some mobile games, but it's pretty terrible. Yeah. Have any of you played the game from SteamDB?
Oh yeah, the guest tag thing.
Yeah. That's not bad actually. It's good entertainment.
That's fun.
But on the tagging front, I'm kind of disappointed that you can't filter by multiple tags at once.
Yeah, that would be kind of nifty if you could say, controller, Linux, platformer, etc.
Right.
Because then it sort of becomes Steam's new search tool rather than using the genres that game developers define. But it still worries me that tags like action get applied so liberally to everything when I don't even understand why it's still a tag, really.
Yeah, I hope with this feature they will add something like similar to. I don't know if you guys use Last.fm or Spotify.
I understand what you mean, though. Yeah, tags that occur in pairs, inform sort of
Exactly. You played this game, you might like this one.
Exactly, and well, they're already showing you on the store recommended tags for you, and so obviously they know what sort of games what games you play, how you've tagged them, So obviously you must like these sort of tags, which doesn't always sort of literally work. But I mean, it sort of works for Google with their extrapolation for stuff. So yeah, should be good.
Yeah.
The,
but...
No,
go ahead, jeez. you go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I was just going to say that I find the friends tags feature to be more interesting than the global tags thing, because these are tags have been made by people that I know.
And the Half-Life 3 tags and everything, and the Timmy tags.
I didn't see High Expo before.
Did you not? It's brilliant. Yeah, High Expo.
Nice.
So in between Potato Sack and Star Wars, I have High Expo.
Nice.
As part of that shift with Steam tags, they've removed the Linux SteamOS entry that they had added to the top bar.
Yeah.
Which is kind of surprising, but I think because they added SteamOS, it was overflowing the menu, and they just decided, well, this is a bit of a mess. Why they didn't go back to Linux, I don't know. But I think
this has given them the opportunity to have a macOS option there as well.
Yeah, and under the games drop down now, where it had macOS, underneath it's got SteamOS and Linux. So it's still there. It's just an extra click away.
Though you can't click the games button now. You have to find something in the menu you want to click.
Oh yeah.
So either you have to go to featured items, or you have to go to games and then all the way to the button.
Yeah, it's a bit more of a trip, isn't it? It would be nice if they basically put the platform that they know you're on right at the top, so you could just click right where free to play is. Anyway, yes. There have been some client updates recently. Some that have fixed streaming crashes that we spoke about earlier. Recently, there was another secret push for a SteamOS feature that isn't announced. Do you guys have an idea what that could be?
I think I guess remote control is probably the most likely thing, but people are still speculating about the arrival of Netflix and potentially other streaming services.
I think it's more likely the remote UI stuff, just because that's what they were working on. But as I said when we were talking about it earlier, most of the guys that tend to rip the client apart to see what changes have been made, they haven't noticed anything yet. So I really doubt it's a Netflix API yet or anything.
Yeah, and remote control's been hiding in there for a while. Hey.
Yeah. I'm waiting for the mobile clients to get an update so you can use the damn thing. And possibly get an Android update, because it's been 2-3 years or something. Probably 2 years.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, well, the iOS app got an update. I imagine that was probably because they were worried about being kicked off by Apple because they hadn't updated to the new user interface. But it does surprise me that their Android strategy is sort of like, let's have this really crappy app, but not do anything with it. It's a bit strange.
So, moving on, there've been a bunch of new Steam Greenlight titles announced. Anything in there that catches your eyes?
The first one that jumped out to me was Critter. This is a GPL painting program on Linux, an open source one. And I think when they saw Blender, approached by Valve, they thought, well, let's go on Greenlight and we'll see if we can get on there. And lo and behold, they've been approved, which is brilliant. So soon you'll be able to easily download a FOSS painting program through Steam. Not that you couldn't easily download it anyway, but it's another avenue to introduce people to the program. Out of all the other titles, I pulled a couple out, but I think Circuits is the most interesting. It's sort of, space chemi. You can lay out circuits, and
it's got a nice aesthetic.
Yeah, you sort of run. It has a program where it flows through the circuits you've made and interacts with it, and I don't know how I'm trying to describe that properly. But anyway, it looks interesting. Words, they fail me.
Yeah, it does. I've had my eye on Try for a while, which is a kind of first-person puzzle game where you can create triangles in space that you can then walk across or use to solve puzzles and stuff.
So that's 24 titles out of 50. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, it's nearly half.
I wouldn't want to say it's a trend, but that's definitely exciting.
And Sword, anything in there that you thought was interesting?
No, not really. I just looked through the list and yeah.
No, the names really don't jump out. Hover might interest you.
Does it have horses?
I could probably describe it as Ricochet-like, maybe.
Oh.
I would have said that that it looks like it has something in common with Warsaw, if that's how you want to pronounce it.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
General gaming news. There have been a load of releases since the last cast. We just wanted to focus on some excellent ones. Guacamelee is a platformer. You play a luchador who's been killed, murdered, and you're avenging your death and rescuing a lady. But yeah, it's a really neat platformer with an interesting reality swapping dynamic to it.
Mm.
It makes some of the platforming dynamics pretty damn hard when you get sort of telemetry and the rest. But yeah, it's a really good game. The Swapper, I know quite a few Linux gamers
Yeah, I'm interested to check that out.
have been waiting for the Swapper. Yeah. Did I see one of you two playing Little Racer Street?
Yeah, I said I was playing it earlier. It's fun, and it's got like a daily challenge thing, like Spelunky kind of stuff.
Oh,
as well,
nice.
which is neat. So you get like a stock car that everyone gets, and the same track that everyone else gets, and your score for that track and that car with those stats goes up to be compared against everyone else's.
I'm worried about these daily challenge sort of. I worry about a trend where each day I'm going to play a game and then be told I suck compared to all my friends.
No, look, I think it's a really interesting approach to getting people playing. Yeah.
It's a great social dynamic to get people playing the game, not just regularly, but out of interest of wanting to compete with friends. For someone like me who's probably not the best gamer in the world, it's a bit of a letdown, really, to be constantly reminded.
For single player games, it's kind of I don't know if Little Racer Street has it, but Spelunky has a thing where you can see how your friends went in the daily challenge, so you can compare your progress to theirs, and that's more meaningful, I think, than seeing a persistent leaderboard, because someone will get the high score and then you will never see anybody else's behavior past their best score. You don't see when someone's had a down day or an up day. So it's really nice to be able to see that kind of dynamic on a day-to-day basis.
Well, it's a good way of converting a single player game into a multiplayer game, even though it's asynchronous. It's something that you're only comparing sort of a statistic, but it's a really good way of converting a game that probably wouldn't mesh well, or something like Spelunky. You really couldn't. You can play it co-op, but I really don't think a competitive multiplayer would work too well with that.
I've been talking with the Assault Android Cactus devs about leaderboard stuff and how it would be neat to be able to have a custom leaderboard where you could say, here are a bunch of people that I care about, or maybe here's a token and everybody can use that token to say that they're associated with this temporary leaderboard that you're creating, and you give it an expiry or something like a week, and the idea then is that everyone gets the best score that they can get within a week, and you have your own little tournament type thing, but then that becomes way more achievable than if it can be automated like that, then you don't have to worry about everybody being nice with their scores, and it's all a bit easier to get into, but nothing like that sort of really seems to exist at the moment that I can find.
Grid 2.
Or Grid 2?
Grid 2 has a dynamic where you get a weekly challenge, and you'll set a couple of different challenges, and then some random friends out of the... Well, not friends. They basically set you challenges as well as challenges. So, you compete against people you don't know, and you have to score more points than them, and it changes on a weekly thing. And, it's part of leveling up your online persona as well as getting achievements and the rest.
Well, that's kind of interesting.
There's a page called True Achievements, which I used for 360 when I played that, where you could, go one-on-one on someone and get this achievement first, or get these achievement, complete this game, or just get a bunch of guys and see how many points you could get in a month.
Yeah, okay. Is that resettable, or is that just like once you've got your achievements and points and stuff, you can't do that again.
Well, when you unlock an achievement, it's unlocked forever, so you can, unless you just make a new account, but kind of beats the purpose.
Yeah. I think that takes the metagame a bit too far if you're competing to, because there are some sites that track, basically getting your first trophy to getting your platinum. So they say you've 100% of this game in 8 hours, and you think, well, what if someone calls you while you're playing the game? I think it puts a bit too much of a focus on doing things really quickly, and it's nice to have some achievement. Like, as I said, I've been playing Portal 2 just to finish up the single player trophies, and it's nice to have ones that I've already completed the game. I like the story, but I just want to go back in to smash some screens or something, and that's what I appreciate about that sort of achievement trophy. Not the sort of do it this quickly, because that's just a kick in the nuts.
Speaking of achievements or trophies, it's actually the sole reason why I ever completed any for a single player game.
Oh, that's a bit of a shame, really, but it is a good reason for me to go back to a game that I found a bit frustrating. Like Brutal Legend, I keep going back to that. I don't know why, just because some of the fighting in it I just find frustrating. But yeah, I mean, it's a good motivator for someone like me. But I can see how for someone who's really good at games, it's just sort of they play it, they finish a game, they sell it on. They've only got 80% of the achievements. You think,
Well, the problem is also that some developers make these very awful achievements.
Oh God, yes.
Like I remember in Bomberman X0 for 360, there's an achievement for putting 1 million bombs.
Jeez.
That's insane, and you can only do it while you're online. And you can if you're lucky, you could plant like 50 bombs in a game, and you had to load. It would take hours of hours of hours.
Far Cry 2, I think, has got ridiculous trophies.
Yeah.
Then you've got Fear 2, I think it is, that's got ridiculous online trophies. And then looking more on sort of PS3 stuff, Resistance 2 has got ridiculously grindy numbers that they're retiring the servers in a couple of months, and I'm never going to get platinum on that, even though I must have put a good 50, 60 hours playing multiplayer. Just, it's got a really decent campaign multiplayer, even though it looks a bit like arse nowadays, but yeah.
Quake 4 for 360 had an achievement for being number 1 in the world on the Quake 4 leaderboard.
What? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But speaking of a game that's quite close, Portal 2, one of its achievements, you have to fully finish the co-op game with a newbie after you've finished your co-op.
Oh, yeah.
So you have to finish co-op and then play with someone who's never played it before and finish it again with them. And some of them are just impossible. And it's...
I wish that that achievement would certainly be a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable if there was just a little bit more replay value in the co-op mode.
Yeah, but it's not just that, because Valve have got their achievement system that if you get an achievement, you get an achievement. There's nothing really in it. On PS3, you have to get all of them to get a platinum. So it actually puts the bar of getting the platinum ridiculously high for a trophy that's a cute little throwaway item.
Yeah, okay.
Left 4 Dead 2's got similar ones where you can complete what do they call them, chapters, or where you have to complete one of them with like one of the free players. Was it Helpful Nick or something? One of the achievements. So that on a free weekend, if you play and complete the campaign with any of the free players, you get a trophy, which is nice. But that's going to get diminishingly hard to play, because when they give out the game for free, any new person who's got the game for free won't be able to find a free person to play with.
Yeah. Is that a reward for early adopters?
But is it? It's a kick in the teeth to someone who adopts something late. When you look at something like sales or whatever, or getting free hats or whatever, a little status symbol, that's fine. But achievements aren't that. They're a status as part of the game. And I know we've spoken about it quite a few times in different casts that some people do like to 100% things, and if you make it unachievable,
Yeah, fair enough.
that really frustrates them. I don't know where they're going with it. And speaking back to it, Antichamber got released this week. It's not on Steam yet because it was in a humble bundle, but that game's really good, and it's got a load of sections that you wouldn't normally get to if you didn't sort of mess around and once you've learnt the dynamics of the game. And that really could do with achievements, not just to reward you for doing that, but to nudge you in the direction of doing that. For me, they encourage me to do things that I wouldn't normally do, as well as reward me for accidentally doing something I wouldn't normally have done. And I mean,
I think those are the best kind of achievements, the ones that encourage you to explore.
And as part of the testing, I was jumping through into different rooms that I wouldn't normally have gone through just because I was having to test it, and found some bugs by doing that. I think it's a good carrot and stick relationship, really.
It does raise an interesting point when it comes to testing. Hey, you got to especially if you're one of the main guys, you got to do a lot of work to make sure that you cover all those edge cases and hard to reach achievements and things.
Well, the odd thing there is I didn't even expect that I'd played a decent amount of the game through and hadn't found a bug at all, and I was just messing around to basically find all these other rooms that I knew could exist because I understood how the world works in that game. And just got to it, and it's these screens that are meant to present the wireframe view of the objects behind them. They just weren't working right, and I filed a bug because obviously the projection's wrong and the rest. But yeah, it does. Also, you have to wonder is how come testers don't get debug modes? Because when some things are a bit too hard to get past, it'd be nice to just sort of say, kill this boss and let me get on with it. But anyway,
I'm surprised that you don't get that sort of thing.
Well, I think they're probably worried about us leaking sort of backdoors and the rest.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose.
But have there been any other releases this last fortnight you'd want to mention?
Like I said, I've been enjoying Papers, Please as much as you can enjoy something like that. Journal I own, but haven't had a chance to try out yet. That's from the guy that developed Cairo. Perrin, sorry, yes. Ash something Perrin. Oh, awesome. Fair enough. We have some updates as well. Natural Selection 2 has had some fixes on Linux for out-of-memory issues and GTK errors on systems that don't have GTK. Which is good news. Yep, we are going to plan an event for that soon, so we'll inform you of the date whenever we nail that down. Yep. So, as most people have noticed, somebody has managed to get a vaguely official response saying that Nuclear Dawn is not under development anymore, and there are no firm plans to proceed at this point with development of Linux beta. Yeah, which is such a shame because it basically means the betas are not going to get promoted. So the version that gamers are going to get won't be able to play with any of the other gamers, and so disappointing. Because it's so close. It is disappointing, especially it's quite close, yeah. Apart from, I think it was some of the heads-up information was missing and a couple of corrupt textures that just weren't appearing. That game was damn on. I mean, it's better than some of the current games that are on Steam, so yeah, such a shame. Well, I think most of the missing textures have been fixed, and the HUD bug that I'd encountered, that seems intermittent, like it comes and goes sometimes. Yeah, but within a single game. That's the sort of bug you want to nail down, though, in case it's a leak or something that the server's causing or anything else. I'd say that the HUD thing is probably the only notable problem with the game at the moment. But so word's gotten out about this. I reached out to the people from Interwave that I'd previously been in contact with and kind of asked them what the situation was. And it's kind of more like Game Connector's taken on the rights to the game so that it can continue to be available to people. They're already hosting a lot of servers and a lot of community stuff. So it seemed like a good match to take that on. But then on a development studio, and as far as I'm aware, they don't have the resources to fund further development. So it's not necessarily, their fault that it's not getting made, and it's a disappointing reality that sometimes studios close. So it's not necessarily something you can be too cranky at Interwave about for not getting dealt with. It's just a really sad and disappointing situation. I mean, that's the thing. There's really no blame in it, and I know some people in the community
because obviously we've had beta events, know the the active developer for the Linux dev, and I would encourage people not to be mean or post comments to them, because it's probably out of their hands as much as it is out of many people's.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, there's still possibility that it may get some attention, and because the build is so close that they, maybe, who knows, in the future we might see the Linux client getting stable. It's just that at the moment there are no solid plans to make things happen. There hasn't even been an official announcement of Interwave's closure yet. So
spotted on SteamDB, Crytek SDK that's just tagged for Linux. It's very interesting. We obviously have to guess that it's just, why they'd make an SDK just for Linux or just tagged for Linux is a good question.
Yeah, well, sometimes developers tag or have a separate app ID for each application. So they might have an app ID for the Windows version of the depot.
Well, the thing is, if you dig through, it's in part of a sub, which is the Crytek Dev Comp. It doesn't have any other, it doesn't.
Right.
Definitely doesn't have a Mac, but it doesn't have a Windows build either. I have to wonder if Valve has basically said any SDKs that have to be developed for like SteamOS have to be published through them or something, just for an ease of use or what. But it's very interesting.
Maybe. Or maybe they're considering that if they push it out, that people will be more likely to use it.
Yeah.
If it's pushed out that way, specifically targeting people who want to develop for SteamOS, maybe that's the strategy for for getting in touch with people who want to do that kind of thing.
Well, they've had this depot in the Steam database for about a year, because they did mask the name of it after those sort of Halo leaks. They removed all the names off all the public names off the depots, but it reappeared in the last couple of weeks. So obviously something's happening. Either they're going to announce it or it's getting ready for release or something. But it's very interesting.
Yeah. Although when I first saw it, it kind of reminded me a bit of that time when who was it? You said it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not mention any names.
Tagged something as Half-Life 3. Oh, yes, no names. We can cut that out.
Let's just say the Stanley Parable developer pulled a funny and posted a community update for a game called Half-Life 3. And NeoGAF and Face Punch went a bit mental, and then they realised it was just a bit of a funny troll.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
But that's he's a funny guy.
He is. He hangs out in the SteamLUG IRC channel, which is nice.
We should probably remove his name so people don't pester him either.
Yeah, don't pester people. Be nice to them. Don't burn bridges.
Yeah.
Don't be idiots.
Jeez, wow.
Hug. Make hug, not cranky.
Anyway, mention this next thing. Is it Godot, as in waiting for?
I
would have called it Godot.
This is a 2D game engine developed by OCAM Studio, who are from Brazil, I think?
When you say it's 2D, is it
somewhere in South America?
For adventure games, platformers, or just a generic sort of 2D drawing library that has some mechanics on top?
It's kind of trying to think of the best way to describe it. I haven't had time to personally play with it.
It's got keyframed animation, so IK based. Yep.
But it's also kind of got APIs built in, and I've heard a number of people say that it's kind of similar to what you would expect from Unity.
It looks, it's probably quite similar to BGE then as well. The Blender game engine. Yeah,
maybe. But that's been released under the MIT license. I had hoped to have had some first-hand experience poking around with it by now, but sadly I don't.
Fair enough. Or maybe you can dig into that for your next project.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm. So Broken Age has gone DRM free for downloads through their Kickstarter and Humble Store pages.
Yep. This was delayed while the first set of post-release patches came out, so that they didn't have to put multiple builds up for people. So it's fairly stable now, and that has hopefully made a lot of people happy. There's a bit of crankiness about the lack of simultaneous DRM-free availability.
Ah, okay. Well, that quickly got run through Humble QA a week or two ago.
Did you get a chance to play it?
I think I've completed Shay's quest and most of Vela's. Who is it? The lumberjack. I've met the lumberjack now who's afraid of trees.
Curtis.
Yes, I've got to that point. And pretty much the only bug I found was that the readme text wasn't in UTF-8. Sorry. It was showing up as garbage in all the text editors of the house. I was like, you could really Unicode this. I'm like, okay, sorry. I'm sorry, that's just my area of interest of many.
That's fine. I mean, who else is going to check that out and report that?
Okay, so FTL's upcoming expansion. I mean, it's not paid DLC, is it?
Yeah, so it's a free expansion, they're calling it.
Fair enough.
I'm not sure whether or not it will be, whether you'll be able to turn it on and off. I assume you will be if they're calling it an expansion.
Well, the thing is, I briefly looked at the site. They're adding some extra features like cloning machines and hacking torpedoes or hacking modules or whatever. And they're also adding on a hard mode. I imagine hard mode's something you can obviously toggle between.
Yeah.
But yeah, the update's looking really nifty. I really would like them to add endless mode though. I would love that game if it never ended, but just kept on going through space.
There are lots of people asking for that, but the game as it is at the moment is kind of like really tuned to be played through quickly. There are a few mods that open it up and let you play, for as much as you like, and the game kind of loses balance very, very quickly.
Yeah, but I kind of like that. Once I've had a couple of good dice rolls, I can really get going. The problem I have is quite regularly when I'm playing on even normal mode, I have a bit of bad luck and then the game's over. And I think because it feels a bit too hard on that and too easy that, it sort of prevents me from playing the whole game.
Yeah, well, I do know that that an endless mode has been this hugely requested feature from day one. Maybe that's something that they're considering for the expansion as well. I don't know. And it sounds like they've got a whole bunch of content that they haven't. It sounds like they might have more content that they haven't announced yet. So moving on, Humble. We missed since the last cast the Humble weekly sale for Indiecade, which had half of its titles supporting Linux.
Yep. A couple of repeats with And Yet It Moves and Dear Esther, and a new title, Luxuria Superbia. I don't know if anyone knows those games, but And Yet It Moves is a platformer. Dear Esther is a walking simulator. And Luxuria Superbia is...
psychedelic.
Pretend you're a vibrator.
What?
The game moans at you to touch areas of the game. It's very interesting. No, honestly, it words flash up at you like, oh yes, keep going. That's lovely. I sort of felt a bit weird doing it.
Oh, fair enough. So it's been replaced by the Humble weekly sale for Adventure Company and Friends being King Art.
Yeah.
So 3 out of the 12 titles are supporting Linux, and those 3 being the 3 King Art adventure games, The Raven, Book of Unwritten Tales, and Book of Unwritten Tales, The Critic Chronicles. But they're all titles that require a minimum purchase price.
We've mentioned it many times, but the current bundle, Humble Indie Bundle 11, has got some cracking games in it. Guacamelee Gold Edition, which is a platformer we've mentioned. Dust and Elysian Tale, another platformer. So the Swap is a puzzle platformer. Antichamber is a puzzle perception first-person walker game. Then we have Monaco, which we've mentioned many times, a heist game. And Gianna Sisters, which apparently a port is coming, but that's a platformer as well.
There's no ETA on the port for that one. It's later in the year, I think, was the wording on that.
We shall see. I'm sure we'll talk about that when it comes.
Yeah.
I do have a feeling of what's coming as these sort of add-on games, and they're brilliant as well, but I can't say anything. God damn it. So crowdfunding.
That's fair enough. Yeah. Somebody put me onto Starcrawlers the other day, which is this kind of first-person roguelike game, similar to maybe Legend of Grimrock.
Sci-fi first person?
But sci-fi, yeah.
In space?
Sci-fi for the win. Space, well, I think it's in spaceships, but yeah.
Okay.
It looks like it's got a good degree of character and flavor, which is what you need in a game like that.
If there's a game that I'm wanting that's in that sort of genre, it's routine.
And we didn't mention it earlier, but this game has also just been greenlit.
Oh, nice. Well done to them.
Something else I came across the other day was Tabletop Simulator, which is this kind of freeform table sim where you have like a hand that's your avatar. You control it with the mouse, I assume. And it's got kind of preset boards for playing chess or Go or whatever. But you can kind of create your own stuff. You can import your own images and things, and you put your own board games in. And because it's just using physics without rules and stuff, you as a player define the rules.
Okay.
You have to tell your opponents if they're making illegal moves.
Oh, wow.
But
I was going to say, can you virtually pick up the board and fly all the pieces around when you're really annoyed at the other player?
I don't know, but it totally needs a table flip mode.
It does, doesn't it? It's like, right, that's it, I'm out.
Yeah.
But you're cheating.
But yeah, it looks interesting. You don't see these kind of physics sandbox games out and about very often. And the developers cited Wolfire Games' Desperate Gods as a fairly big inspiration for it. I'm pretty sure that has a Linux build now.
Ever since Surgeon Simulator came out, every time I see a simulator game, I instantly think of that. But I guess this is another kind of simulator. Or do you actually have to move your mouse to grab the chess pieces and move around the board, or?
Yeah, but obviously you got a little bit more finesse and control than you do in Surgeon Simulator.
Okay. But, Surgeon Simulator tabletop multiplayer would be fantastic.
I was going to mention dentist modes, but don't they have that yet?
I don't know.
Like Dentist Simulator or what?
Well, yeah, being in a dentist, drilling teeth. I'm sure that can be some DLC for
The
Surgeon
world needs
Simulator.
it.
And then with the Oculus Rift, and you could be a patient.
Oh god! And you just hear this.
Oh man, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna make that. That's gonna be awesome. And King Art Games that we mentioned just recently have also launched a crowdfunding campaign for a sequel to the Book of Unwritten Tales, which is a proper sequel as opposed to Critter Chronicles for people who are following the franchise and excited about that. They have blasted through their target, which is now almost doubly funded, past their 65,000 goal, and it's still got about a month left.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah, it sounds like their goal was fairly modest to begin with. So if this helps them offset their development costs with whatever additional money they were putting in themselves, then good for them.
Right, I think that wraps it all up, doesn't it? Thanks for listening, everyone. If you have any feedback for the show, you can email us, cast@steamlug.org. We had Muse Games on to talk about Guns of Icarus Online. We are going to sign off by going to play the game with everyone listening and other people in the community. And you've been listening to John,
Swordfisher,
and Cheese. Thanks, guys. That was fun. How much longer do you guys have?
In co-op, you mean?
Today, here.
We're supposed to do, like, every week we do a like kind of a community Twitch stream, and so we still have 15 minutes, 20 minutes.
Okay. Just want to make sure that we're not keeping you.
Right, Matt?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yay, Matt speaks!
Yep. No, I was. You had complete control over it. I felt like I didn't want to step on your toes.
Wow. Thank you.
Earlier this month, I published an article. Let me start again.
Come on,
sorry.
Cheese. 2 hours. Wow.
We had a bit of silence in there. I reckon we can trim this one down.
Yeah, sorry, I went to the toilet and noticed when I got back everyone was like, "Why is it quiet?"